we witnessed an incredible moment today when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. gave a game-changing speech and exposed the establishment to Americans in a way that we have never seen before. Kennedy assailed his own political party today, which has abandoned democracy in pursuit of perpetual power. Today's Democrats are not liberals. They are leftists working toward authoritarianism as a necessary means to achieving their goals, as the left always does. One way they're dismantling our democracy while claiming to save it is through lawfare, which, as we know, they've used on Donald Trump, but they've also very effectively used on Kennedy as well, suffocating his campaign in legal challenges as he tries to get ballot access so that we can live in a democracy. This and other Marxist tactics destroyed Kennedy's campaign, so Kennedy turned to the only candidate who, at least at this point, still believes in a free country. He turned to Donald Trump. Today, Kennedy suspended his campaign and endorsed former President Trump, citing Trump's willingness to work on real American problems like ending forever wars, improving our health, including our kids' health, and fighting corporate oligarchies and government censorship. Kennedy ravaged the establishment in his speech and reminded Democrat voters that the party of his father and his uncle has completely disappeared.
Back then, the Democrats were the champions of the Constitution, of civil rights. The Democrats stood against authoritarianism, against censorship, against colonialism, imperialism, and unjust wars. It had departed so dramatically from the core values that I grew up with. It had become the party of war, censorship, corruption, big pharma, big tech, big ag, and big money. They installed a candidate who was so unpopular with voters that she dropped out in 2020 without winning a single delegate.
The speech was a long one, and it was absolutely devastating to the Democrat Party. What Kennedy did today was build a populism bridge between conservatives and classical liberals. Binary American politics is changing right before our very eyes. Elections are no longer Republicans versus Democrats, but populists versus a corrupted establishment elite. A transition that started with Donald Trump, who in truth, if you think about it, was the most classically liberal Republican on the stage back in 2016, a war ender who wooed union workers, talked trash about the Republican Party. He was moderate on abortion, but wanted to save the country from a machine that had corrupted both political parties, a government that had grown out of our control. It's the biggest problem that we have. Today was a huge moment for our country. And the power centers, of course, are freaking out after an exhausting week trying to sell Kamala Harris as a common sense, highly competent, moderate candidate for president.
A chance to chart a new way forward. Not as members of any one party or faction, but as Americans. And let me say, I know there are people of various political views watching tonight, and I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans.
Just some of the very phony speech that we heard last night from Kamala Harris. Didn't mean a word of it, didn't write a word of it, and everybody could tell. The most left-wing American senator turned accomplishment-free vice president is now ready to unite the country of all stripes. If you've been following Kamala Harris's career on the national stage, you're probably excited to see her finally do something. Well, just you wait. If we make her the president, she's ready to finally get to work at the age of 60. Last night, Kamala admitted the border was not secure, contradicting everything that she has said for the last 3.5 years, because she now has a more politically useful reality to spin to you. It's not secure, but it's Trump's fault. After the White House and some very gullible Republicans pushed a very feeble border security bill that would have really done nothing, but would have given the Biden White House a total pass for the treasonous act of decimating the sovereignty of our country. They didn't get that bill. They blame Trump, and they can just wash their hands of 3.5 years of open borders and the chaos that came with it. Politics is that easy. Kamala also, with a straight face, said this about Iran.
I will never hesitate to take whatever action is necessary to defend our forces and our interests against Iran and Iran-backed terrorists. I will not cozy up to tyrants and dictators like Kim Jong-un who are rooting for Trump.
Yeah. Iran is rooting for Trump to win, by the way, the allegation made. Iran. She claims, as her own intelligence agencies warn, that Iran is literally trying to assassinate Donald Trump as we speak. The Biden-Harris White House has Iran's stooges working in the State Department doing the bidding of a terrorist regime, but Kamala is going to be very tough on Iran if she comes in. If you just give her power, she'll do everything right. She's never done it before, but she'll do it this time. Kamala's speech last night was vapid. It was delivered with visible insecurity, and it was riddled with lies. Trump slammed it earlier today in Las Vegas.
She's a copycat. She's a flip-flopper. You know what a flip? She's the greatest flip-flopper in history. She went from communism to capitalism in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, pretty much. For its part, though, over the speech from last night, the media swooned. Read the headlines, and Kamala is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Here's Rachel Maddow.
You will remember where you were when you heard this speech tonight from the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, really introducing herself to the nation, speaking as much to Republicans and independents as she was to the Democrats who were nominating her tonight, asking Americans to remember how great their country is and to fight for its values. You're going to remember where you were on this night. This is an inflection point in history.